She had no special skills, no experience, no certificates, no confidence. She watched other people succeed and always told herself the same thing. They're different. They know more. They have something I don't. For years, she stayed exactly where she was, the same routine, the same income, the same worries that kept her up at night. Every single opportunity that came along felt completely out of reach. Technology looked so complicated, almost like a foreign language. New systems felt intimidating, designed for people much smarter than her. And the thought of learning something new, it just felt exhausting. So she didn't try. Not because she was lazy, but because she was genuinely afraid of failing again. Afraid of that feeling of disappointment, of confirming her own belief that she just wasn't good enough. Like so many ordinary people, she believed success required some kind of innate talent, something you're born with. Not something you could ever build from scratch. Most of her days were quiet, predictable. You could even say they were safe, but it was a safety that came with a very high price. It was limiting. It kept her world small. Then one day, something small caught her attention. It wasn't a big, dramatic event. Just some stories she came across online. Stories about people who weren't experts. People who started with absolutely nothing. No fancy background. No hidden advantages. But they just followed simple steps and repeated them over and over again. At first, she dismissed it completely. That won't work for me, she thought. I'm just not good at this kind of thing. But a tiny spark of curiosity stayed with her. It was a little voice in the back of her mind that wouldn't go away. So she started watching, just watching. Listening to what these people had to say, learning slowly, at her own pace. She made a conscious decision not to aim high. She didn't try to become an expert overnight. She didn't rush. Her entire focus was on understanding one single thing at a time, just one. She used simple, accessible tools. She let technology handle the things she couldn't do on her own. And most importantly, she stopped worrying about being perfect. She gave herself permission to be a beginner. Most days felt completely uneventful. The progress was so slow that sometimes it felt invisible. Of course, there were moments of deep frustration, moments where quitting felt like the most reasonable, logical thing to do. It would have been so easy to just go back to what was familiar. But for some reason, she kept going. Maybe it was that spark of curiosity, or maybe it was just a stubborn refusal to give up on herself one more time. And then one day, something changed. She saw a small result. It was nothing impressive, nothing you'd write home about, but it was real. It was tangible proof, and it was enough to prove to her that her lack of skill wasn't the real problem. The problem was her belief that she needed skills to even begin. That single moment shifted everything in her mind. She realized that skills aren't a prerequisite. They aren't something you need at the start. They are something you build along the way, brick by brick. So she started to repeat what worked. She identified the simple actions that produced that small result, and she did them again. And just as importantly, she learned to ignore what didn't work. She stopped wasting energy on things that were too complicated or didn't yield any progress. She just stayed consistent. Slowly, almost without her noticing, her confidence started to grow. Not because she suddenly became this incredibly talented person, but because she became persistent. Today, she no longer says, "I don't have the skills." Instead, she says, "I'm learning." It's a simple change in words, but it represents a monumental shift in her mindset. It's the difference between a closed door and an open one. There were no shortcuts on her journey. There were no hidden talents uncovered along the way. It was just patience, simple day in, day out consistency, and the courage to begin without having any experience. The courage to be a beginner and to be okay with that. Her story is a powerful reminder. If she could start with absolutely no skills at all, with nothing but fear and self-doubt holding her back, then truly anyone can. Your journey doesn't start when you're an expert. It starts the moment you decide to learn. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content just like this. See you in the next one.